Hey, what's up, everybody? Andrew from Fantasy 8 here to give you my top 50 outfielder rankings for the 2017 season. Super excited. Worked a little bit, a lot of time on this list, a lot of editing, a lot of different things. It was really hard to compile down the 50 into something I felt comfortable with. So let's dive right into it, shall we? And obviously, we had the first tier outfield. Obviously, Mike Trout is number one. I mean, why wouldn't he be? He's Mike Trout. Interestingly, Mike Trout didn't have as many home runs as his 2015 season, but Trout did steal 30 bases versus 11 in 2015. He went down from 41 home runs to 29 RBIs, but actually got more RBIs, even though he had 41 home runs last year. So obviously he takes the number one spot. Chris Bryant, number two, although I'm betting most players aren't going to be using Bryant in the outfield slot regardless. He is eligible, so I decided to add him to this list. So he's an obvious number two. A good guy, but you're probably going to play him at third. Then, of course, we got Mookie Betts. Betts had a really great season last year with a 318 average. 31 homers, 26 steals, 113 RBIs, just a massive season. And I love him for this year, but I don't think he's a 30-homer guy. I think we're looking at 20 home runs in 2017, but that's not really going to diminish his value in that Boston lineup. He's still going to steal bases. He's going to hit for average. And so that's him. And then, of course, Harper. Now, I had it back and forth on Blackmon and Harper, but I finally decided to put Harper ahead of Blackmon because, first of all, he stole more bases last year than Blackmon. He stole 21 bases last year, although he was caught 10 times, so that is a concern for Harper. You want to see a better ratio on steals. But obviously, last season was disappointed. He batted .253 with only 24 home runs. That's after his MVP 2015 campaign of batting .330. I think he lands somewhere in the middle for 2017. He's not going to be as good as his 2015, but he's not that bad as he was last year. And obviously the Nats lineup is great, which is why he's at number 4. And of course, we got Charlie Blackmon, who batted .324, 29 homers, 17 steals last year. I do think we'll see a bump up in steals with around 20 home runs. Obviously, gets to play half his game in Coors. A very solid player to have, if you just want to get some speed early on your team. If you don't grab Altuve or something and you feel like you need a little speed, Blackmon's the way to go. So as I say that, let's head into our second tier. And that, obviously includes a lot more guys. Obviously, Trey Turner is going before some of these guys. Sometimes he goes before Blackmon. I've seen him go before Harper, but I have him in second tier for now, and that's for a couple reasons. First of all, we really only saw him play about half a season last year, and it's just not enough to tell how good a player is. You had Carlos Correa, who had a fantastic half a season, and then he wasn't first-round material in the next year. You can go to Puig. There's just all these examples of guys that were supposed to be great, and that's why they went in the first or upper rounds, and they didn't. And it's not that I think Turner's going to have a bad season. He obviously in the minors has proved he can maintain a good batting average, and I don't question the speed. He's going to have 40 to 50 stolen bases, but I think he's only going to reach around the 10 to 15 home run mark, which isn't bad. I mean, it's a great player. I'm just not taking him in the first round, and because he only played half a season, I feel comfortable with him being leading off to second-tier outfielders instead of being involved in the first. Of course, we got Ryan Braun at number 7. He had a nice bounce-back season, 30 homers, 16 steals, 305 average, and it was pretty spread across his first and second half, so he didn't really struggle anywhere. So obviously, Braun's back. He relatively escaped injury last year, and we hope for that in 2017. Marte was interesting. He had only 9 homers but he had 47 steals with a 311 average. Now, in 2015, he had 19 homers and 30 steals. So the steals went up dramatically and the home runs went down. He does have more power than 9 home runs. I think he's going to be a 15-homer guy, and obviously with the steals and the average, that easily makes him deserving of number 8. Springer. had an interesting season. 29 homers, only 9 steals, and he got caught 10 times, so that's a pretty bad ratio. But he was able to show some power, and it's going to be fun to see him progress. I think he will in 2017 take that next leap forward. And of course, we got the ageless wonder, Nelson Cruz, who's now hit over 40 home runs for 3 years in a row. He had 43 last year, and it just doesn't seem like he's slowing down. He's still one of the elite power guys. He's basically putting up stats that Stanton should be putting up as the next guy on my list. Of course, Stanton had an injury-plagued year, only maintained a 240 batting average, only 27 home runs. Is this the year Stanton can stay healthy and go off? We don't know. Then, of course, Ian Desmond had a rebound season with the Texas Rangers last year, and now he gets to play half his games in Coors. Obviously, there is a little bit of concern. He fell off in the second half. In the first half, he batted .322 with 15 homers and 15 steals. Second half, he batted .237 with 7 homers and 6 steals. So that is a concern there. But the Coors effect really kind of outweighs that, which is why he's number 12 on my list. And one of my personal favorites in drafts, Gregory Polanco, number 13. He did have an injury last year, a hamstring injury, which kind of hampered him a little bit. And I really think affected his bottom line, because he was able to hit 22 home runs with 17 steals and a 258 average. And I think he can definitely improve on that this year. The hamstring injury is behind him. I think he can put up a huge year. And then obviously 14 Pollock, injured most of last season, only had a couple at bats. Not much to say on him other than that, he's going to be decent. I think he'll be able to get right back in the swing of things. Cespedes at number 15. It was kind of an opposite season for Cespedes. Compared in 2015, he finished red hot with the Mets, crushed a bunch of homers, where he did most of the damage in the first half this year. In the second half, he batted .246 and 10 home runs. So he had 21 home runs in the first half, but definitely a good power guy. And he goes later than he should in drafts, I think. So it's a really nice way to grab an outfielder. Will Myers is one of the guys I'm avoiding, but you can't just ignore his 2016 season, which is why he's at number 16. He had 28 home runs last year, 28 steals with a 250 average. And I think the steals are legit. I just question if he'll get to that same power. He batted .233 with 9 homers in the second half. And, of course, the Padres aren't known for being the best team. So definitely interested in watching them this year. I'm not counting him out. I'm just not going to pay for where he is right now. And then J.D. Martinez at 17. He had another J.D. Martinez year. He had home runs in 2015. He only had 22 in 2016, but he did play 38 less games, which accounts for some of that. And, he hits for average with decent power. Not much to say on him. Schwarber, again, kind of a Bryant situation. He's got outfield eligibility, but you're using him at catcher. So pretty much going to skip over him. And then we got McCutchen. Down season last year, only a .256 average, 24 home runs, 79 RBIs with only 6 steals, and he got caught 7 times. However, he did finish the season well. From August on, he had over 280. And I don't think he's not going to give you steals, but I think he'll have a nice bounce back in the average department this year, especially with Gregory Polanco and all those guys hitting around him. So it's going to be interesting there. Then, of course, we got Carlos Gonzalez. He only had 25 home runs last year versus 40 in 2015, but his doubles increased from 25 to 42. So I'm really thinking that's an effect of the wall, the higher the fences, and it really dramatically shifted his doubles up and his homers down. Obviously, Cargo has been involved in a lot of trade rumors this year, and his value would plummet if he left the Rockies. But as of now, he's on the Rockies. He's going to play, and he had a decent average last year, batting .298. So that's why he's at number 20, which moves us into our third tier. And obviously, leading that off is David Dahl. He had a 17-game hit streak when he first came up, which tied a record for rookies, set it for the Rockies. And he had 7 homers, 24 RBIs, .315 average with 5 steals. And, obviously, he's going to score a ton of runs in that offense. Right now, it's reported he's competing with Parra for the right field slot, but I think he's pretty much a shoo-in, as Parra is more of a platoon player. So I'm excited to see what he can do. He can give you a little power, a little speed, and a ton of runs, which I love. And then, of course, we got Mark Trumbo, who signed back with the Baltimore Orioles. 47 home runs last year. We knew he had power, but no one saw that coming. First half, he batted 288 with 28 home runs. Second half, he batted 214 with 19 home runs. So he did have a better first half. And I don't think he's going to get to 47 home runs this year, but, he's definitely probably going to get over 30. Great ballpark over there in Camden Yards, so that's why he's at number 22. And then Jose Bautista, who's been going really late in drafts just because of his injury-plagued season last year, but he was still able to put up 22 home runs. He's back with the Toronto Blue Jays. He's got a good park. If he can stay healthy, he should be just fine. And, of course, Christian Yelich, 21 home runs last year, 298 average. It was a career year for him, but he's not really the homer type. His home run to fly ball rate was astronomically high, so I don't expect a repeat in the power department for 2017, but the average is definitely real. He's been really good at hitting for average. He also got 9 stolen bases, so he sprinkles a little bit that in. And then, of course, Justin Upton. First time since 2011 that he hit over 30 home runs. He had 31 last year. Only 9 stolen bases compared to 19 in 2015, so he's kind of slowing down there. He's generally, he's not going to hit for a high average. He'll give you 250, 30 home runs, which isn't bad. And, of course, if you know me, you know I love me some Piscotty. He's number 26 on my list. He had a decent first full season. 273 average, 22 homers, 7 steals, 85 RBIs. But his second half really hurt him. He batted 295 in the first half, but he kind of fell off in the second half, only managing 247. And I think that was just him tiring. It was his first full season in the majors. He was able to hit 35 doubles, so I think he'll take another step forward. I think he's a 25 homer, 300 average guy, which is pretty great where you can draft him, which is usually just around the 100 mark or a little bit after. And then, of course, right after him is one of the most hyped rookies going into this season, Andrew Benintendi for the Red Sox. And he had a solid cup of coffee, 295, 2 homers, 14 RBIs. He's not going to give you power, but he's going to give you average, tons of runs. Great Red Sox lineup. I'm really interested to see where Benintendi is going to play in that lineup. Obviously, being higher would be much more advantageous, so that's definitely a situation to watch during spring training. And, of course, Matt Kemp had a resurgent season last year, and I kind of feel like people haven't noticed. I mean, he had 35 home runs, 108 RBIs with a 268 average, He doesn't steal bases anymore, but that's some great stats. And he hit 280 with 12 homers in 56 games when he was traded from the Padres to Atlanta. And, he's got Freddie Freeman in the lineup, Dansby Swanson. Their lineup isn't as bad as it was last year, so I really like him. And, of course, Adam Jones, who seems to decline a little bit every year, but he's never fully gone. It's like he doesn't tank because he had 29 homers last year, 83 RBIs, 265 average. That average keeps dipping, but he manages to maintain over 20 home runs every year. And I think 2017 is going to be no different. Slow decline, but he'll still be able to produce for you. And then Jackie Bradley Jr., interesting case for him last year. He was a breakout star. He was able to hit 26 homers, 9 steals. But his first half, he batted 296 with 14 homers. Second half, 233 with 12 homers. So it's nice to see the power maintained into the second half. It's just a question on what is his ceiling and batting average. Is he going to be a 260, 250 hitter? And that's something we're going to have to watch for. And then, of course, we have Adam Eaton, who was recently traded to the Nats from in the Giolito deal. And I love him in leading off for the Nats. He's going to score plenty of runs. He mixes in power. He's hit 14 homers in 2015 and 2016. And he got 14 steals last year. So he gives you a little of everything with a ton of runs. I love him hitting in front of Turner, Harper, Daniel Murphy. It's just a great lineup and a great place for him to be. Number 32, Miguel Sano, kind of had a disappointing season last year for anyone drafting him, but he was able to hit 25 homers, 66 RBIs, and he was injured for part of the year. He's not going to hit for average. He had 236, but I think the power is there. He's going to hit over 30 home runs. He's also third base eligible, so great guy. And what's crazy, No, number 33, Chris Davis. He hit 42 home runs last year, yet I only have him at 33, and I can't justify moving him anymore. Just looking, everyone hated when he went from the Brewers to the Athletics, and then he just went off with 42 homers and 102 RBIs. Obviously, he didn't hit for average, but I think he's in for some big regression. I mean, we all knew he had power, but I don't think he's a 42 homer guy, especially in the Coliseum. So that's why he's ranked as low as he is. And then another favorite sleeper of mine, Hunter Renfroe. Great cup of coffee with the Padres, 371 average, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs. And, he's going to give you modest power with a good average. It's not the best lineup, but he does have Will Myers. So he's going to produce there, and where you can get him, he's definitely worth it. Grab him as your third outfielder. It's definitely worth it. I'm really excited for Renfroe this year. Everyone remembers Benintendi, everyone remembers Dahl, but it seems like Hunter Renfroe kind of gets left out there. And of course, Billy Hamilton, the steal specialist. I don't like drafting steal specialists, and that's why he's so low on this list. He had 58 stolen bases, and he was able to get to a 260 average, but the Reds' offense could not drive him home. He only scored 69 runs. He only had 17 RBIs. So, he's not giving you any other useful stats besides stolen bases. And I'd rather get my steals early from guys that will give me other things instead of just driving a one-trick pony in Hamilton. Kendry Morales, surprising out of this list. I didn't think I'd add him on here, but Yahoo has him outfield eligible because I think he played 5 times in the outfield last year, and he had a really good season. He had 30 homers, 93 RBIs, and it was his first time hitting 30 homers since his 2009 Angels days. And, he's taking over for Edwin Encarnacion in the Rogers Center over in Toronto. I love him there. I definitely am looking out for Morales if I haven't filled my outfield by that time. And even as a late first baseman, if I don't have a first baseman, I didn't draft it early. I just love Morales. So that brings us to our fourth and final tier of outfielders. That leads off with Lorenzo Cain, who had a pretty disappointing season last year. He had 9 homers and 14 steals. With a 287 average, he's always going to hit for average, but he just didn't give you what you wanted. He did play in 37 more games in 2015, which accounts for some of it, but he dropped from 28 steals to 14 steals while only playing 37 less games. So it's not just that. He's slowing down. Obviously, he's aging. I pretty much avoid Cain in drafts. And then, of course, we've got Hunter Pence, who was injured a lot of last season, but was able to put up decent stats. So I don't know, 13 homers, 57 RBIs, 289 average. He's just one of those decent guys. He'll give you 20 home runs. He'll give you a 280 or above average, and, you live with it. And, of course, the next guy, Odubel Herrera, had a pretty good season with the Phillies. 15 homers, 25 steals, 286 average. 10 of those homers were in the first half, though, so I don't think he'll hit another 15 homers, but 10 is not out of the possibility. And, they got Franco, and, they signed Michael Saunders for whatever that's worth. Obviously, their lineup is still pretty sucky, but, Herrera is a decent late outfielder. And, of course, at number 42, we have Cole Calhoun. 18 homers last year with a 271 average. Now, the 271 average was great as he batted 256 in 2015, but he fell from 26 homers to 18. I'd like to see him get over 20 again this year. Obviously, it's advantageous being hit in front of Pujols, Trout, all those guys. He's going to be driven in. So he's another one of those late options that people seem to forget about. And I noticed I skipped over Yasmani Tomas, who's at number 41. I apologize for that. And Jose Ramirez at 38. Well, so I'll just move back to 38 for a second. Jose Ramirez was kind of Michael Brantley without the power last year. 11 homers, 22 steals, 312 average. I think he can do somewhere around there again. And with all the places he's eligible at in Yahoo, he's a great pickup. And then I'll move back to Tomas, who hit 31 homers last year. So he finally showed that power in his second year in the majors. and had a decent average too at 272, and he hit 294 in the first half and in the second half. So he's interesting. I don't know if he can repeat that. I just don't have any trust in him. But if he goes late enough, it doesn't even matter. And of course, we got Adam Duvall, one of the breakout guys in homers last year. He batted 241, but he was able to do 33 home runs, 103 RBIs, which is no small feat in that Cincinnati lineup. Obviously, the Great American Ballpark is a great place to hit. One thing to keep in mind, though, is he hit 23 homers in the first half and only 10 in the second half. So I don't think he repeats what he did last year. But obviously, if you're in a desperate need for power, Duvall can fill that need. 44, Byron Buxton. 10 homers, 10 steals, 225 average. But of course, what everyone remembers is September where he hit 287 and 9 homers. And for me on Buxton, would we be as excited about him if he did that in, say, May and then stunk the rest of the time? Is it recency bias or because it was the last month? We're hopeful about him. And obviously, he's got tons of upside. He's not going early. But just the Ks are concerned. He struck out 118 times in 92 games last year. I don't fully think he's going to be there. I wouldn't want to rely on him as a starter. But if you're drafting him for your bench, sure, it's a great move with the upside. At number 45, we have Dexter Fowler, signed with the Cardinals. He's probably going to take over the leadoff spot from Carp this year. He had 13 homers last year, which is down from his 29 in 2015, and only 48 RBIs. But he's going to score runs. He'll get about 10 stolen bases while giving you a halfway decent average. If you're in a 5 outfielder league, that's you just look for him to fill that last spot. Interesting number 46 pick is Carlos Gomez. I find me drafting him a lot. He goes after 200 AAP. I can grab him 230. People just seem to not be willing to take him. And don't get me wrong, I don't like Carlos Gomez. I never have loved his swing. It's way too aggressive. And as his bat speed slows down, he's going to have to make adjustments. But as a gamble pick, I don't think it's that bad. He had 13 home runs with 18 steals last year, 231 average. But he did bat 284 with 8 homers for the Rangers in 33 games. So I am kind of intrigued, and I find myself drafting Gomez for the first time. Then, of course, we've got Marcell Ozuna, who had a tale of two halves. Ozuna hit 209 in the second half with only 6 homers. That's 63 games in the second half, and that's concerning to me. I don't know where Ozuna is. It's the second year in a row where he had, second in 3 years that he hit 30 home runs. He also did that in 2014. But I just don't know where I stand on him. He's going to have to be more consistent. You need him around for the playoffs, so he's going to have to produce in the second half. Then, of course, number 48, Nomar Mazara. Hot first half. But he kind of lagged in the second half. He ended up with 20 homers, 64 RBIs. Not bad, but I'm not too much of a believer in Mazara, which is why I don't draft him. I know some people are higher on him than me. He does play in a good ballpark, but I need to see more from Mazara. Josh Bell at number 49, and he kind of fell. He was a little bit up when I originally made this list, but obviously he had to have some surgery. It's kind of a wait and see if he'll be ready for opening day, which really diminishes his value. He's an average guy. He's not going to give you power, but he did have 21 walks to 19 strikeouts last year, so he wasn't overpowered. But it's just that surgery gives kind of a concern, which is why he's fallen all the way to 49. And then finally, rounding it out as Old Man Holiday, playing with New York Yankees now. That's great because he'll be able to DH sometimes. And I think Yankee Stadium will do good for his homers. I think he can get back to 25 home runs, which isn't bad when he sometimes goes undrafted and really goes late because of his injury-plagued season last year. So that rounds out my outfielder list. If you want to check me out on Twitter, you can go at FantasyA1, or you can email me with your questions at fantasya1@gmail.com. And one quick mention, if you want to meet up with fellow fantasy sports addicts, just go to fantasysportsaddicts.com. Tom and Ryan run it over there. I love it over there. We're chatting or mocking all the time. there's always mocks going on. I mean, they mocked today, that we were just all on a Google Hangout talking, drafting, it was a lot of fun. It happens all off season. We get in leagues together, just creating a great community. So definitely check out fantasysportsaddicts.com. They also have their own YouTube channel, Fantasy Sports Addicts Anonymous. For Fantasy Aid, I'm Andrew. Thanks for watching. Top 50 pictures are next, so look out for that.